In our bid to reclaim our Atlantic destiny, the theme gives us three categorical imperatives. We must connect, build, and renew.
Young.
The first important step of our mission is to connect, to break the divide between Africa and the African diaspora.
Young.
This means fostering stronger ties, not just at the governmental level, but through academic exchange, cultural immersion, and people-to-people interactions. We must break the silence that has surrounded our shared history and actively strive to build the unbreakable bridge that has been missing for centuries.
Young.
Acknowledging and confronting our painful past will enable us to overcome the trauma caused by enslavement, colonialism, and its attendant racism.
Young.
We all recognize that getting to the mother continent from the Caribbean and vice versa can be complicated, with travelers often forced to fly into Europe,
Young.
while a direct flight can take a shorter time and will be more convenient. No wonder our gracious host, the Honorable Mia Motley, who has rightly and proudly described herself as a daughter of Africa, has called for the construction of air and sea bridges between Africa and the Caribbean.
Young.
Where there's a will, there's a way. God helps those who help themselves. The import of these two common sayings is that with determination and perseverance, we can overcome what may seem insurmountable challenges. An initiative like the direct flight from Africa and the Caribbean, which is long overdue, can turn geographic proximity into genuine connectivity and promote cultural tourism.
Young.
And that is why the direct flight from Accra to Bridgetown, organized in connection with Global Awards 2025, deserves our commendation and emulation.
Young.
We can also focus on education by utilizing our educational institutions to build bridges and educate people about Africa within the Caribbean communities and vice versa. And I think this afternoon I've been introduced to two of them here, bridging the gap there. It is also possible to promote cultural collaboration by facilitating partnerships between cultural figures such as musicians and writers. It should be possible for us to encourage diaspora-led initiatives through supporting community-based knowledge sharing led by the diaspora in areas like health, agriculture, and finance.
Young.
I commend this university for contributing to driving this process, for recognizing what we must reconnect in Africa, with Africa, the mother continent, not just an intellectual engagement, but as nations and people.
Young.
If you all favor reconnecting Africa and the Caribbean, then we should have the courage to admit that the construction of the bridge constitutes an unfinished bridge,
Young.
which we must hurriedly complete to enable us to translate the partnership into reality for the mutual benefit of our people.
Young.
Let me confess that I keep returning to the Caribbean islands, albeit always in response to invitations extended to me, simply because I see myself as someone on a larger mission, the noble mission of contributing my quota towards fostering, broadening, and cementing the growing relations between Africa and the Caribbean and between Africa and its diaspora.
Young.
This mission, as we all recognize, is not going to be an event. It may be a long and tortuous process. So let us rekindle the spirit of our forefathers who, in the face of oppression, humiliation, and indignities unparalleled in history, showed resilience, determination, and perseverance to survive and thrive.
Young.
Viewed from a historical perspective, the underlying current of the theme is not new. We can recall that in reference to the experiences of the slave trade, oppression, and racial discrimination, some famous individuals of African descent, such as Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, and Martin Luther King Jr., all advocated that Africans, and in extension all people of African descent, need to reconnect and, if possible, join a giant sovereign union of a single socio-political, economic, and cultural identity.
Young.
They emphasized that the need for African descendants to work together to transform the paradigm of centuries of discrimination and leverage a continental political union in international relations.
Jump.
As if to follow up on this grand vision of African unity, in 2006, the Constitutive Act of the AU was amended to include the African diaspora as the sixth region of the continent, the others being Central, Eastern, Northern, Southern, and Western regions of Africa.
Jump.
The Act defines the African diaspora to include the people of African region living outside the continent, irrespective of their citizenship and nationality, and who are willing to contribute to the development of the continent and the building of the African Union.
Jump.
The article manifests an official recognition of the role of African diaspora irrespective of historical migration as either forced or voluntary, pre-slave trade, slave trade, post-slave trade, and modern migration in advancing the Pan-African philosophy through the development or rebuilding of Africa and African heritage.
Jump.
Already, some Afro-pessimists and cynics have described the AU's sixth region as a coded language for what they call Africans who have migrated and are living outside Africa. We should not allow ourselves to continue to be divided. For me, this is not a mere symbolic designation. It is a living and breathing opportunity for political, economic, and cultural revival.
Jump.
We should leverage the AU designation and initiative to connect Africa and its diaspora, irrespective of where they are, when and how they got to their present location.
Jump.
By our calculation, this will amount to about 350 million people of African descent, which translates into the third biggest population in the world if all the African diaspora could be considered as living in one country.
Jump.